Do you want to bet this college football bowl season alongside Dave Koken and Ralph Michaels? Well, we have you covered. When you look among the list of our handicappers, some are known more for specific sports, and when you mention college football, two that jump out are Dave Koken and Ralph Michaels. Mr. Dave Koken has been the all-time profit leader in college football since he joined Wager Talk, and while the regular seasons have been profitable, his performance in the bowls have been even better, going 45-22-1. That's 67%. Ralph Michaels was a previous general manager of Phil Steele Publications, voting on all significant college football awards, including the Heisman Trophy, before joining Wager Talk. Ralph's run and bowl action has been stellar, going 44-20. That's 69%. Our bowl package price will be $199 with the $149 early bird. You can lock in Dave and Ralph's both for only $198, coming out to just $99 each. That's Dave's 68% and Ralph's 69% bowl records, including any 5% best bets released in bowl season for just $198. Access will cover any college football releases from the Bahama Bowl on Friday, December 16th, through the College Football Playoff National Championship game on Monday, January 9th, from both Ralph Michaels and Dave Koken, and include any 5% best bets. So act fast before pricing goes back to regular price.
Hey guys, welcome in on a very happy Wednesday, Thanksgiving Eve. Certainly hope it has been a profitable week for you thus far. If not, don't worry, plenty of college basketball still to come here. Great card today. Great card all week and weekend too, and we've got you covered. We're going to break down a few of these games here on Slate today. We're going to do it, of course, with three of the best as we welcome back in Mr. Steve Merril in the house. We also have pinch hitting here, Adam Trigger. Thank goodness for Adam Trigger. And we've got, of course, the one and only Mr. Tony Finn in the house here on this pre-holiday edition of the College Basketball Tip-Off Show. Steve Merril, talk to me. We've got a whole lot of college hoops, huge NBA card, bunch of obviously football games here, both NFL and college coming up. So what do you got locked and loaded for us already at Wager Talk?
Yeah, the baseball references continue. I made a drag bunt joke to Tony Finn earlier before the show. He just said Adam Trigger's pinch hitting. I kept telling Joe Raineri, I want to do an NFL public video for the Thursday games. Let's record it after the baseball show. Joe got very upset with that. College basketball show, whatever it is. All sports. It's the funny thing, Joe, is baseball is the only sport not going on right now because we got NHL, we got World Cup soccer, a little thing called the World Cup going on, as I've been told as well. And not a bad time to get a 7-day, $69 all sports at wagertalk.com. No promo code needed. Buy 3, get 4 days free. That's basically what that works out to. Or if you want to go a little bit more long-term investment, you can get the rest of November for free. Buy my December package right now. You get November for free. I put this offer up a week ago. Since I did so, I've gone 12-2, 86%. Don't wait any longer. Get the rest of November free right now. Steve Merril, wagertalk.com.
Not a bad way to go, guys. Now would be the time to do it this week. Loaded cards across the board. Adam Trigger knows all about that here. What's going on, Trig? We talked yesterday here on the show. I know you got a bunch of stuff ready to go now here. Tell us, what do we got there at Wager Talk?
Well, yeah, Steve had to adjust a bit outside on yesterday's show, too, so the baseball references have just been flowing, which is great because baseball, as we all know, is the best sport. But right now it's college hoop. Tough beat for me on the Syracuse Orange last night. Those OT dogs, I need to talk to John Murray and some of these other guys about changing that rule. These should settle at the end of regulation. I can't tell you how many times in the last 2 years I've had an underdog go to OT only to fail to cover. And that's what happened to me last night. But outside of that, everything's fine. Football's been great. Come into this week, number 1 units gained across all football at Wager Talk this season. 2 5% plays up for the weekend. And Steve already mentioned the 7-day special. There's no need to buy these individually. The 2 5%ers would run you more than just the 7-day all-access special, which is on everybody's page. So definitely take advantage of that. I've got one college hoop play for today, and I'm going to give it out on the show, so no need to buy that. May add another, but right now the one I've locked in, I will have out for free by the end of the show.
Even better. All right, guys. Opportunities presenting themselves. Some college basketball games already underway. Some have finished, but the highlights of the night still to come here. And Tony Finn, you've got to be. I know you got some NBA, some college football, NFL ready to roll. Tell us what's going on there at Wager Talk.
Well, quickly, first and foremost, I think that the panel here everyone would be good advice to spend that $69. I think that's what it is, right? $69, 7 days, all access on these two gentlemen because they're red hot. And however, if you are a masochist and you would like to, challenge the Vegas board with the Tony Finn selections, then you can get me for the same price. The value, I'm not certain what it will be. Tomorrow it might be better than it is today. I have nothing in college football, Joe. I have nothing in NBA yet. I'm doing some stuff for college basketball. I will have about a pick from 2 different tournaments, which I'm excited about. All that will be posted as soon as we're done talking about the good, the bad, and the ugly here and what's going on today in college basketball.
Huge card here, guys. Opportunities present themselves. Let's head out to the Cayman Islands Classic. We'll start there. Game number 1. And we're going to take a look at LSU and Kansas State battling for the crown here. Both 5-0 right now. We're seeing LSU as a slight favorite. Total is 136.5. LSU basically just suffocated Akron, and Kansas State, well, they found themselves in a good old-fashioned shootout with an overtime win against Nevada there, and good old Coach Clifford. But they meet here tonight, 7:30 Eastern time tip. Trig, talk to me here. LSU Kansas State should be a really, really good one here, but how are you approaching it?
Yeah, it should be a good game, Joe. You know, it's interesting. It's almost fitting that these two teams are playing each other because they both kind of went through a similar offseason where, like, most of the program left, coaching change, really came into the season with zero expectations. I think Kansas State was projected kind of across the board to finish last in the Big 12. LSU, maybe not quite as bad, but certainly not what we've come to sort of know LSU to be the past couple of years. They had 11 guys leave the program and a brand new coach to really just start from scratch. And with all that being said, both of these teams come in 5-0. Have really, and especially Kansas State, has really overachieved, in my opinion, to start the season because I didn't think we were going to see this type of play out of this Kansas State roster. I think some of that can be attributed to Jerome Tang, former Baylor assistant. I really like him. I was talking to Kelly, who obviously we know went to Kansas State, tuned in with the program, said he's been all over campus. He's really endearing himself to that fan base, wants to build a program there. And I think they've really been like a breath of fresh air out of the gate so far, guys, because, you know, there was a couple spots where I wouldn't have been surprised if they lost to Cal. I mean, they had some potential pitfalls to take a bad loss early in the season. And not only have they not taken a bad loss, they haven't lost yet. They find a way to get it done in overtime against Nevada. I kind of have them on my list as a potential fade going forward, Joe, only because I think they've really sort of punched above their weight class a little bit thus far. But I don't know if I want to do it with LSU, who's kind of in the same boat, right? Like both these teams come in 5-0. Both these teams probably have some losses in their future. So I would have probably gotten involved if I could have gotten a dog price on one of these teams here. At the current number, I think I lean slightly toward LSU. I think the talent is just a little bit better on the LSU side. But I'll probably wait a couple games to see if I can fade one of these two teams. I'm not going to do it when they play each other here.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting matchup here, Merril, for the championship here. Both these teams look primed, ready to roll. What do you think we get? High scoring, low scoring? Who are you giving the edge to?
Well, I think LSU probably wants a little bit of a faster pace, and so far we've seen some money coming on Kansas State and the under. So I think that makes a little bit of sense, as I think K-State and the under is somewhat correlated here. LSU opened as a 2-point favorite. Now it's pick'em. I see -1s both ways, so we'll say pick'em. Total, though, 142 down to 137, 136.5 range. So we have seen some money coming on the under here. And I think K-State's going to play at a slower tempo, but LSU's actually been the better defensive team so far this year. They've played a slightly weaker schedule, but still allowing less than 37% shooting. Both teams allow less than 30% from three-point range on the season. And they've each played 5 games now, so the sample size is becoming a little bit more legit. Also, this class of opponent hasn't been anything great for LSU until they beat Akron. Yesterday, they were just a 4-point favorite in that game. They held Akron, by the way, to less than 26% shooting. So I think defense probably gets it done tonight. And trying to guess who's going to win this game, which is basically a pick 'em right now in the betting market, I would agree with that early sharp money move to the under. Lost a little bit of value with it going from 142 down to the 136.5 range. But I still think there's a little bit of room to get it under the total still.
All right, leaning towards should be a hard-fought defensive LSU going to want to suffocate this Kansas State team. But can they is the question here, Tony Finn. Are you buying what LSU is selling, or is Kansas State the way you're leaning?
I've been extremely critical of Kansas State's head coach for years and years. I thought his championship team in Illinois wasn't really his team. It was Bill Self's team. If you remember, that's when Bill Self left and went over to Lawrence, Kansas, and to coach the Jayhawks. Weber, I trust, as the years have gone along, Joe, I've trusted Weber much more. I think he's done a better job. He's done a really good job with some bad teams at Kansas State, and I thought he'd done I think he gets a little soft with some of those players that are stars, and thought he's done less with more. Now, today, I really trust LSU's defense more than to really suffocate Kansas State, as the word you used, I think, in the intro here, and that is Kansas State's going to have to be at their best. They're going to have to shoot better than they've shot, and they're going to have to move the ball offensively to get some open looks. If they don't do those two things, I think LSU can not just win, but I think they can run away with this game.
All right, there we go. Should be a good one, guys. 7:30 Eastern Time tip on that one. Let's move on. Game number 2 here. This is also going to be a good one as Utah taking on the Bulldogs of Mississippi State. 6 is the number I'm seeing, 124.5. This is going to be an 8:30 tip-off. So talk to me here, Merrill. What do you think of Utah and Mississippi State going at it tonight?
Yeah, Adam Trigger actually talked about this game earlier on Wager Talk Today. I invite people to go back and check out Wager Talk Today. Of course, you'll hear Adam in a second here, but we also cover some college football and pro football. That, of course, archived here on Wager Talk TV. And this is a battle of a 5-0 Mississippi State team against a 4-1 Utah squad. And, Utah doesn't have the altitude. This game's in Fort Myers, Florida. That's something I always look for these Utah schools is in college basketball, teams do fatigue a lot of times in the second half. Utes right now top 70 both offensively and defensively. They're playing at a pretty slow tempo this year, 291st so far in the nation. Mississippi State, 329 on the tempo. They're top 60 in both offense and defense. So I think the offensive and defensive matchup is pretty equal here, but the tempo looks really slow in this game. And not a surprise, we've seen the total drop a bit from a pretty low opener of 126 down to 124.5. Mississippi State's pretty much been a 6-point favorite across the board. A little reluctant to lay a full 6 points in the game that I think will be not only low scoring in the mid-120s, but probably even lower scoring. So I'll stay off the side in this one. I will look at the under. Both teams have been just incredible three-point defense. They're each allowing just 24% shooting from beyond the arc. They're both allowing 34% or less from the field on the season. I'm not going to overthink this one. We have two teams that played extremely slow paces and play excellent defense. Let's play under the total.
Yeah, they're slow, and then there was Mississippi State taking on Marquette, which I had to refresh my screen 5 times while on air covering this game because it was 23-17 at half, Trig, and I thought I was being punked. I'm like, there can't be just 40 points in this game, right? No, they were awful, absolutely awful. But is it more Mississippi State suffocating defense? Are they this good? Can they shut down the Utah Utes, or are you not buying Mississippi State at this point?
It's not that I'm not buying Mississippi State. I think Jans is an excellent head coach. He takes over, he moves from New Mexico State over to Mississippi State, some roster turnover. I think he's done well, in the early going this season. So, and he's got great athletes, and he does have some guys. I mean, it's not like he was left with nothing. Like that roster is decent. Like there's some athletes there. There's a good place to start for him in Starkville. But do I buy him as a 6-point favorite here? No. I agree with Steve. This is probably an under. Like this game is definitely gonna play at a slower pace, and you factor in the fact that both teams played yesterday. Is only probably likely to slow it down. But for me, I love Utah in this spot, and I'm willing to. So I said it on Wager Talk today, and I'll just reiterate this point. I'm willing to bet on. Early in the season, sometimes you have to bet on coaching. A lot of the rosters are so new, and I like Craig Smith as a coach. I liked him at Utah State. I think he's got a roster at Utah that is maybe not. It's not like outside of Brandon Carlson, who I think is one of the better players in the Pac-12. The roster's okay, but they give a tremendous effort. They play hard defense. Like I like the effort out of this team. And Brandon Carlson, 7-footer, he can step away and shoot the ball. Not many teams have a guy that aren't like at the elite teams that have a guy that's a 7-footer that can step away, make the three, go up and hit their foul shots. I think he's one of the more underrated players in the entire Pac-12 because he missed some time last year. He was sick. I think he had his appendix out. So he really, and he still was their best player. And now he comes in averaging 15.6 points, 7.8 rebounds per game. So for me, I just think that the 6 points is too many. Mississippi State's still a little bit new. I don't know if I like them in the favorite role. I think I'll like this team down the line as an underdog, but I don't like them as a favorite. I didn't really care for them yesterday as a favorite. I think they may have pushed or maybe they covered the early number against Marquette, but Marquette's not a team I'm incredibly high on either. I don't put a ton of stock. Like Utah lost to Sam Houston State, not a big deal to me. There's going to be wacky results early in the season. You can't put too much stock into one result. So for me, Utah +6. It is my client play, 4%er. I think the Utes have a great chance to win this game, and if not, it's probably a slow pace. So those 6 points are going to get good. Each point should be at a premium here, so I'll take the 6, Joe.
All right, back and grab it, take it here. What do you think, Tony Finn? You think the dog is the way to look here, or are you thinking we got possible double-digit win here?
Well, I think probably the consumption of Geritol will be more than the consumption of beer for the people who watch this game. Meaning, and I don't mean that I mean that in a loving way. You know me. Two teams, defensive. I watched a little bit of the Georgia Tech game. The Mississippi State Georgia Tech 68-64. I thought, wow, 132 is really low scoring, kind of slow pace. And I thought, how can we play under when over? Not even under because of the numbers they've posted in these kind of games. These games on neutral soil, et cetera, et cetera. You know what I mean? The Utes failed to cover, 4.5-point favorite. That Marquette game, 58-55. I was wrong about the 68-64 game, right? Under is the way to look here if you have the wherewithal and the patience to play under one, in the 20s in college. I'm not really, unless I'm on St. Mary or betting an Ivy League school, I stay away from those totals, Joe. But this would be one that if you were going to lure me into the game and to the sportsbook counter, I would be pushing in on the under.
Going in on the under in this one. All right, guys, we do have out west here, I believe, a game coming up with Washington laying 2 against Fresno State. This is going to be 9:30 Eastern time tip, 125.5. is what we are is what we're seeing in this one. And I did that just move? No. So yeah, 125 and a half here. So what do you think with the Huskies taking on the Bulldogs here, Tony Finn? Is this a game here you think we might be looking at the dog as well?
I tell you right now, I wouldn't, because my first look, it's not a big dog either way here, right? What's the number at? -2. What's the latest number, Joe?
Two.
Two,
Yep,
yeah.
2.
So essentially, you're gonna pick them, right? But I'm not certain Wooden would approve of the way these two teams play basketball. Maybe he would. Maybe I'm wrong, but being the Wooden legacy tournament, I would have to lean to a Pac-12 team, obviously, being Washington here. The Huskies they were rolling through the early part of the schedule. However, the competition was pretty soft, right? They're shooting pretty good. Again, much of this has to do with how these teams that's the most difficult part for me, Joe, is translating maybe a Ken Pom team that's in the low 200s, just 280 change, against teams that are in the low 100s. There's a difficult transition as far as being able to assess that team when they're playing this team and the handicap that's presented for you in this game. Give me the Pac-12. Give me the Huskies minus the short number here. I feel comfortable with that.
He's liking the Huskies here. What about you, Trig? Because that was a brutal loss to Cal Baptist, man. That was that was not good. But now, they can wipe the stench away here with a nice appearance here tonight. And then, of course, they'll take on the winner, I think, of Vandy St. Mary's in the championship game. So who do you like out of these two?
Well, I had no problem with the Cal Baptist loss because that was a 4% play for me. I was on Cal Baptist in that game. And listen, for Washington, I'm going to start with Fresno State. I mean, they look lost without Orlando Robinson. Like that was their guy last year. 17 point, almost 20 points per game, almost 20 points and 10 rebounds per game. And with him not there, they look lost. I mean, their games that they've lost haven't been against bad teams. Santa Barbara, San Francisco, North Texas. Like, it's not like they've lost to just inferior competition. But I would say Washington is as good, if not better, as that crew right there. I expected a little more out of Washington coming into the season. I thought that Mike Hopkins would have the defense. It looked like their defense was going to improve, and they still may. Cal Baptist kind of got what they wanted offensively in the second half of that game. But Cal Baptist is a really good offensive team, very underrated offensive team out of the WAC. So I kind of agree with Tony. I think neutral court. Washington. Remember, they've had about a week to prepare for this game. That Cal Baptist game was last Thursday. I would imagine that they're not thrilled with losing on their home floor to a WAC school. So given the prep time, especially when you've got a team that once they improve defensively will probably be much better. I'll roll with Washington at the small number here. I just think the defense and the fact that Fresno State is so out of sorts without Robinson there, I'd be shocked if Washington. I'd actually be really surprised if Washington loses. So, yeah, Washington minus the small number is how I look at this game.
All right, lay a small number here. How about you, Merril? Who you leaning towards in this matchup?
Yeah, Joe, the reason you were checking, I think the screen was lighting up as you were throwing it to Tony Finn. The Wager Talk live odds screen just went from 2 to 3 on Washington as we're doing this show live about 2:20 Eastern here on Wednesday. So there is money coming in Washington, as Trig just talked about. That's probably some player personnel information maybe for Fresno would be my guess. But it looks like Washington's going to be about a 3-point favorite now. Line open 2. Total did not move much, though, which is interesting. 128.5. It was already 125.5, 126. That might just be a sharp play on the Washington Huskies. What's interesting about this is you talk about that Cal Baptist loss, and on the surface, you're right, Joe. You're like, wow, they lost to Cal Baptist. But then you see the point spread. It was -8. Washington was a double-digit favorite in the first 3 games. So that was actually the toughest opponent they played this season. What concerns me, though, is I do think it's a good bounce-back spot for the fact they've been off for a week after what appears to be a bad loss. But Cal Baptist plays at the 322nd slowest pace this year. Fresno's around 344. Last year, Fresno was 355th slowest in the country. So if Fresno can do to them what Cal Baptist did, it could be problems offensively for Washington. But like Trick said, I think Cal Baptist is a much better offensive team than Fresno, who has scored 60 or less in each of their last 3 games. The only game in which they didn't score 60 or less was against Fresno Pacific. Fresno State played Fresno Pacific. Surprisingly, no point spread on that game. They only won by 13 points, and it only totaled 125. So I would still lean Washington, but I think the safest play is the under. I've been underwhelmed by the 3 games today, and we're going to go with the under once again.
All right, going under in that matchup. Interesting here, too, out west, guys. 9:30 Eastern time tip of that for the Wooden Classic. Now, of course, it is time to go around the horn here and see on this list of games. There is one that might overwhelm them here a little bit, and one they might be leaning towards. So we'll start with you, Tony Finn. Which game here on the board would you select for a best bet for us here tonight?
I was just typing it to you. I'm going to go with this Purdue, West Virginia battle late tonight. And this is a Phil Knight Legacy Tournament, if I'm not mistaken. There's so many damn tournaments right now, guys. I like the under. I'm not going to give you a big breakdown, some analytical mumbo-jumbo on this. Purdue was one of the better teams last year in the Big Ten. They failed to win the Big Ten, and they got bounced by what many would consider a small school last year in the Sweet 16, if we all remember. I mean, I liked Purdue last year. I had some NBA talent there, and for the most part, Purdue is one of those programs they don't really have to rebuild. They can reload. Painter and that group is a good coaching staff, but this game tonight is going to be all about defense. And we've talked. It seems like all our games today that we've discussed and bantered back and forth have been kind of defensively gold or defensively heavy. I think the same way about this Purdue game, and for the most part, West Virginia is going to exceed. I don't know if you guys all saw some of the talk about Huggy Bear and that he'd lost it, and it was time for him to move on in West Virginia in the preseason over the summer. I believe he'll get the best out of this West Virginia, and all of us to a man right here know if West Virginia is good, they're good first and foremost defensively. Give me the under in Purdue, West Virginia tonight.
All right, going under there. Love it. Good stuff there. Purdue, West Virginia for Tony Finn. For Steve Merril, where are you leaning here tonight for a best bet? What game overwhelms you?
Going to look at a free college basketball play for Wednesday night, November the 23rd, and this is in one of those neutral court tournaments that we have a lot of this week, and I think Utah and Mississippi State and under is worth the look. I'm going to give you the reason here in a quick moment. Quick reminder, though, that I do have an NBA best bet tonight on Wednesday. All sports 12-2, 86% over the past week, since I offered the rest of November for free. If you took advantage of that last week, you've gone 12-2 for free. The offer is still available. All you have to do is by December, you get the rest of November for free. Steve Merril, wagertalk.com. Let's look at the reasoning behind the under 124.5 between Utah and Mississippi State at 8:30 Eastern tonight. First of all, Utah plays slower than average, half-court style, but Mississippi State plays extremely slow, the 320 tempo rating so far this season. They were slow last year as well. I think both these teams will be happy to play a half-court game, and I think both defenses will dominate. Each defense on the season, they've each played 5 games each. They're 10-0 to the under. If you played the under in Utah-Mississippi State games, you've gone at 10-0, 100% so far this season. They just cannot adjust these totals low enough. Both teams allowing less than 24% shooting from three-point range. Both teams allowing less than 34% shooting from the field overall. Utah holding opponents to less than 56 points. Mississippi State holding opponents to 48.5 points, and they've played a slightly tougher schedule on top of that. Defense reigns supreme tonight in this game. Mississippi State, Utah under 124.5 at 8:30 Eastern Wednesday night. NBA best bet, NFL loaded for Thursday. College football on its way. Get the rest of November for free when you buy December. 12-2 since I made that offer last week. The winning continues. Steve Merril, wagertalk.com.
Yeah, that set basketball back a long time, that Mississippi State Marquette game. Whew, that was brutal to watch there, Trig. What do you think here tonight? Which one of these games you leaning towards is the best bet?
Well, it's going to be the same game for me. I've got the side Utah +6, 4% play. Don't disagree with a lot of what Steve said. I think it's going to be a slow game. Both these teams played yesterday, so that should only help keep this pace lower in a game where points look to be a premium. I'll take a chance with the points, taking Utah +6. I think Craig Smith is a great coach. I think he has a very unique player, and Brendan Carlson, 7-footer that can step out, hit shots, and really should be in a much better position to succeed than he was last year when he missed time being sick. Just never was fully healthy last year. They've got a lot of effort guys around him. I really think Utah's a little undervalued, and with Mississippi State, I just don't want to play on them as a favorite right now. New coach, some new moving parts. They've done well against some of the easier teams on their schedule, but Utah's going to grind them a little bit. So I'm going to take the 6 points here. I think the Utes have a great chance to get a really nice win in this spot. And if they don't, I think it's, like Steve said, probably going to be a low-scoring, scrappy game, and Utah should stay within the number, even if they don't get the outright win here. So Utah +6, best bet for the show, and a 4% play for my clients today.
All right, boom, going that route. And, of course, our friends at the Gold Sheet, goldsheet.com. Guys, if you haven't checked it out, do yourself a favor. Treat yourself right now. Great handicapping information, breakdowns, stats across the sports betting landscape, especially these great write-ups here on college hoops games. And, of course, you can read this by heading over to goldsheet.com. They are looking at Pepperdine getting 375 points tonight against the UCLA Bruins. I'm sorry. It feels like they're getting that many points. 16 and a half, 17, somewhere in that ballpark. That's going to be a 10:30 Eastern time tip as UCLA looks to bounce back. We'll see if they can handle business here. But Pepperdine staying within a number is our friends from the Gold Sheet. Meanwhile, I am going to go with a total here tonight. I'm going to go out west myself. Minnesota UNLV. This game was lined somewhere around 125. Think that is just a tad too low. Love both of these teams and what they bring to the table here. Minnesota a little slower. UNLV a little bit more up-tempo, but it's the shooting. Both of these teams can shoot, and UNLV... and they like to take the ball away from you and get easy baskets in transition. So I think that's too low. Over 125, Minnesota and UNLV tonight. And to recap one more time, best bets, Merril, Utah, Mississippi State under the 124.5. They played that game 3 times and never get to that score. Tony Finn going Purdue, West Virginia, under on the number there, while Adam Trigger says Utah... he'll take the 6, guys. Got no problem with that. I'm going to go over the 125.5 with Minnesota and UNLV, while our friends at the Gold Sheet say take those 16 points. Get them right now over at wagertalk.com. That's where you can find all 3 of these guys. You can find Tony Finn. You can find Steve Merril and Adam Trigger and that 7-day all-access package. $69, guys, right now. That's right, a full week, every play, every sport, including their 5% best bets that are up there, locked and loaded now. You can get all of them right now, $69. Take advantage of the Thanksgiving Day special here. And on behalf of Steve Merril and Adam Trigger and Tony Finn, we certainly appreciate your time. Want to wish you and your family a very happy and safe Thanksgiving, and don't forget, make it a very profitable one by visiting these guys over at wagertalk.com. We'll be back on Friday, so enjoy yourself, eat, be merry, drink, pretend like you're so happy to see those long-lost relatives, and then come back and join us on Friday. We'll do it all over again. Until then, good luck, guys. Best of luck and happy Thanksgiving.
Whether you are a current Wager Talk TV subscriber, a fan of the extensive amount of free betting information we release, or a client of one of our incredible lineup of handicappers at Wager Talk or Sports Memo, we thank you. Thanksgiving is a holiday loaded with traditions, and we started one of our traditions years ago. Get a 7-day all sports, all access from any handicapper for just $69. That's under $10 per day and just $10 more than a 3-day all access. So whether you're traveling, have a house full of relatives, or just sitting back relaxing with an incredible week of sports, you can do so with the convenience of a 7-day pass. There is no coupon needed, and you can choose as many services as you'd like. This Thanksgiving special will be available through Cyber Monday, November 28th, all for just $69. Thank you again for being part of the Wager Talk and Sports Memo family.